We use Notion to keep track of our marketing projects, but not everybody in the company uses Notion, so we've decided to add on Google Sheets to make sure that everybody who does need the information gets it and when they need it. So let's see how this breaks down. Right here we have the name. We also have page content where it's appropriate, the status, kickoff date, and due date. Let's see how this looks on Google Sheets. Right here we have the name, the page content in HTML, the status, kickoff date, and due date. We also have two columns that we're going to go over later. So let's go ahead and test this by adding a few more rows. Let's say ad campaign. We're planning this. Let's start this at the end of this week. And let's set a 1 week due date. Let's go ahead and also put in here a previous ad campaign that we did, because we want to be able to track that internally, but we also don't need that shared throughout the company. So let's say previous ad campaign. Select monitoring complete. This was completed last month and it took a week to do. So let's see how this updates in Google Sheets. So we can see here that the ad campaign that we're planning has been added, but the one that was completed back in November hasn't made it onto Google Sheets. So let's break down how this works. Our Notion database has already been configured as it's our source of truth. Now the first thing that we're going to do is set up our Google Sheet so that it can be properly synced. Let's start with name, page content, status, kickoff date, and due date. Next, we're going to add the Byteline extension. Next, we add the columns. These columns are used for updating, adding, and deleting so that we can keep track of what's already there. Now let's go ahead into our Byteline console and start configuring this sync between Google Sheets and Notion. We've already got these connections established, so we're going to go ahead and start configuring our tables. This automatically populates, and for our purposes, we really just need it to be one direction. So we'll select this on the right. We've got marketing project in Notion to marketing projects update in Google Sheets. We're going to select project overview. And here's where the distinction comes in between the status. We want to set a filter on the status within Notion. And if it does not equal monitoring and complete, we want all those records to be filtered into Google Sheets. Select next. And again, many of these columns are going to load automatically when they have similar or same names. The only thing that didn't pull over is the page content. We're going to go to add field, select the page content read only on the Notion side, and then on the Google Sheets side we'll select page content. We do need a unique identifier, and that's highlighted automatically for us within the name field. You can select other ones or toggle this off. If there's any additional columns that you don't need, you can go ahead and put these in the trash bin. Before we start the sync, we can review at a high level exactly what's going to happen between the two applications. Notion is going to create, update, and delete none, whereas Google Sheets is going to create 4. And this makes sense because our initial state was that we had 5 different rows here, and one of them was being filtered out as it was being monitored and it was completed. So let's start this sync. This is now live, and we have 4 managed records, and we can go into the change history to see exactly what's been done and when. Now if we go over to our Google Sheets, we can see that there's now 4 rows. So let's go ahead and test this by adding a few more rows. Let's say ad campaign. We're planning this. Let's start this at the end of this week. And let's set a 1-week due date. Let's go ahead and also put in here a previous ad campaign that we did, because we want to be able to track that internally, but we also don't need that shared throughout the company. So let's say previous ad campaign. Select monitoring complete. This was completed last month and it took a week to do. So let's see how this updates in Google Sheets. So we can see here that the ad campaign that we're planning has been added, but the one that was completed back in November hasn't made it onto Google Sheets. Now let's demonstrate how we would update records. Let's go into the ad campaign, and we want to change this from planning to delayed. We go back into Notion, change this to delayed, and let's set this back by a week. We can see here that the Google Sheets record has been updated to delayed. In this video, we've gone over how to establish a sync between Notion and Google Sheets, how to perform a historical sync, add new records, apply a filter, and then lastly, how to update existing records. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out.